What's going on, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
Hey, folks, I'm George Brashura, sitting in for Ben.
And together, we make up this edition of the Two Irish Brothers Show, or in this case, the Two Irish Live Brothers Show.
Let's get it on.
Yes, let's get it on, as the great Mills Lane, the boxing referee, used to say. So first off, George, it's nice to have you on, and thank you for sitting in for Ben for this one.
Oh, no worries. I understand it's going to be for a couple shows, and I'm excited to stop by for a visit and chat about Notre Dame sports and to catch up on everything that's going on.
Awesome, man. Well, it's always a blast to have you. Of course, we've made you an official part of the show anyway. But first off, I want to say, Ben, if you're out there watching, buddy, you're here with us in spirit. If you get a chance, join in, leave a comment, whatever. Now, also, as you guys always know, we say it all the time, but you got to do it, or it doesn't mean anything. Hit that subscribe tab in the bottom right hand of your screen. It's the green YouTube box right there. And also, make sure you either like or even dislike this video, because believe it or not, that does help with the algorithm. It gets us out there even more, so you can see more of the Two Irish Brothers. Another thing too, as you guys see what is scrolling down on the bottom of the screen, our good buddy and one of the biggest supporters of our show since day one, former Notre Dame and NFL tight end Irv Smith. Next year for Ireland, he has put together one heck of a travel package through his company. I believe it's called Global Executive Tours. If I think it's something like that. But if you are a golfer, you are going to want to check out to see what his trip package has to offer, because it is called Golfing with Legends. You will get to golf on 3 different golf clubs in Ireland, or golf courses, I should say. I thought I worked this out before the start of the show, George.
That's what's great about being live.
Yes, I like being raw, always have. But yes, his package includes 3 rounds of golf on 3 different golf courses in Ireland for the Notre Dame Navy game next year. And you will be golfing with former Notre Dame football players as well. So go to Irv's Twitter page, check it out, see what he has to offer on that package. I think you guys will like it. So with that long introduction on my part out of the way, but I say that in a good way. So Irv, if you're watching, don't think I mean anything bad by that. George, there is something I know that you want to address, and I agree that this is a very important thing to address.
So it was actually quite interesting when we were talking about the show. We've been talking about doing a show about fans and the school programs and all of this forced to win and bad mouthing when they lose. Today it was quite an interesting day. Somebody on a Facebook page was ranting about something. Stops the rant for a moment, and then he starts digging into the baseball team. Okay. Now, first of all, this team from last year losing in round 1, okay, the regional,
Yeah.
okay, and, having to lick their wounds of not making it to the College World Series, put their cleats on, dusted their uniforms off, went out there and played one heck of baseball for the spring this year. And it's not a bad season, okay? They suffered their first loss. They had the loss the other day to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a great team. And this is what happens when you play a great team. And this is the beauty about baseball versus basketball. Basketball is one and done, okay? You go into the tournament, you're one loss, you're out the door, okay? There is no double elimination package in basketball. Imagine if there was double elimination in basketball. We'd be playing till now.
Yeah.
But anyway, this person starts roundabout ways talking about the team choking, about how they get to a big game and they don't do well. And I sat there and I didn't even comment, because to me, it's not worth it. Okay. So I thought about this and I'm like, how do I handle this? How do you get ahead of what could possibly happen tomorrow? And you don't know what you're going to come up against. Texas A&M's a great team. They wouldn't be a great team if they're playing in the College World Series, right? So I did it. I threw it out there, okay, and I'll read you the tweet.
Sure. I probably should have downloaded it and put it up on the screen, but
I could share it.
yeah, having you read it is probably better anyway, because I want to hear that raw emotion.
I'll share the screen. You got to press share.
Ah, here we go.
So, as a media guy, I don't want to hear anyone say at ND Baseball choked if they don't win tomorrow against Texas A&M. If you don't think they are not giving it their all, then you are sadly mistaken. They want to win it all, and sometimes you just come up short. Plain and simple.
That says it all right there, George. I mean, this is a team that has busted their tails off, and I'm not going to lie, I haven't exactly been watching them all season, but like you said to start, they come back from coming up short last year, and now they are in Omaha this year.
You can't ask for more than that. You have an awesome coach. Link Jarrett is a coach in high demand, by the way. Okay? The rumor mill about Florida State wanting him to come down there. Okay? He's a high commodity. He's a hot commodity right now. And I'll tell you, this team has not underperformed whatsoever. And for someone to come out and say if they lose tomorrow, it's a typical Notre Dame choke. There's no room for the conversation at all. Pack up your fandom, sell your gear, and move on.
Well, what people fail to understand too is, in baseball, the tournament works a lot differently. You're not just done after one loss. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We got off to a great start against Texas. We had a very convincing win over the Longhorns. Okay. And then we get beat by Oklahoma last night. Okay. Well, guess what? We suffered our first setback. We're licking our wounds, but we're still in Omaha. We are not done yet. And it's the only difference now is we don't have that safety blanket.
They weren't supposed to be Tennessee.
And that let me say something. That Tennessee team, that Tennessee team, from what I understand, everyone was saying they were supposed to just waltz into Omaha, no problem, and destroy everybody. What does that say?
That's why they play the games.
Yes, you upset probably the best team in all of college baseball this year, and you're in Omaha and you're still talking about this team being a choke artist team. Give me a break.
No, there's no room. There's no room for the conversation. True fans, being a media guy, I don't hang my hat on being a fan. I hang my hat on covering them and bringing the legit information. Okay, this is great for this team. This is great for the program. Okay, this is good for recruiting, not just for baseball, but for football and all the other sports on campus. This is great with the airtime that this team is getting.
Yeah, and it shows that, whatever recruit whatever your sport is, it shows that, hey, this is a university that across the board is winning. Basketball made a comeback this year. Football did great. I mean, I'm not going to complain about what we got in football. Baseball's doing great. Women's basketball is coming back.
Fencing back-to-back national championships.
Yes. I mean, no disrespect to fencing. I mean, but people aren't exactly lining up at the door to go watch it. But it's still a sport that requires a lot of talent, and it's not something that just anybody can do. No, so yes, props off to the Notre Dame fencing. Props off to Notre Dame lacrosse. Yep. I know the men had a nice run. I'm not sure how the women ended up doing.
I think their fate was about the same.
Okay,
but that's okay. It's they're student athletes. In the end, Sean, they're student athletes. They're there to go to school, get an education. They have the fortunate situation of also getting their tuition paid for while they go to school. Okay, yes. So these kids don't owe anybody anything. The university doesn't owe the fans anything. Okay, only thing that they owe is these kids an opportunity and 4 years of a solid education.
Now, I'm not going to say his full name, but our friend Patrick out there, if he happens to hear this, he might not understand that. But of course, we'd love to have him on to talk about it. But yes, you're there to better yourself. You're not there to appease other people. I mean, yeah, you want to win, of course, and the fans want to see you win. But in the end, you're the one that's getting the reward or the lack thereof based on your performance, not the fans.
Well, the problem is that the negative voices is what the players hear the most, and it's an unfortunate thing, right? You
Yeah.
hear the bad, you don't hear the good, right? It's the hurt from the negative that resonates,
Yes, I
and
agree.
and that's just the way it is. I personally, I don't like that stuff. Growing up in New England, Patriot fans were just like that. They had always had this expectation they were going to win, and now they're feeling it, right? They're
Yeah.
seeing what it is to lose again.
They never thought that day would come. I mean, you lose the best player in the game, and it's amazing what you see when you don't have a backup plan. When you don't
Well,
have that next guy ready.
these guys have a backup plan. Coach Jarrett, like I said, one of the best in the games. He knows how to make his moves. There was just some crazy play the other day that was uncharacteristic of this baseball team. Okay, if you need motivation, they have it. So get
Yes.
behind the team. 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. ESPN. Turn on the game and cheer for the Irish.
And whatever happens, stand by your team. I mean, Sammy Wynette may have sang "Stand by your man," but in our case, it's "Stand by your team. Give them 2 arms to cling to." Okay, I'm going to stop that right
You're
now.
gonna go on America's Got Talent.
Oh yeah, right. I already make a big enough fool of myself on here. Why would I want to do it in front of millions of people?
It's good
So, all
stuff.
right. So now, just to let everyone know, whoever all is watching out there, it says it. Okay, it says we have 2 people watching, but that's not always an accurate number with that little eyeball symbol. But whoever all is watching, don't be afraid to comment, ask questions. If you want to come on the show and talk to us for a few minutes, I can give you the link to it, and we'll be more than happy to shoot the breeze with you. So moving on from baseball real quick, George, I got to ask you your opinion on this. Going to football here, which is the primary topic that we talk about. What was your reaction when you found out that CJ Carr last week committed to us over Michigan, over Georgia? I could be wrong, but I think Alabama was on his list, amongst others.
Well, it goes to show for the coach, his name we shall not mention, okay, was not a recruiter. He it seems that he sat back on his laurels and just whatever. For a first year coach like Freeman to come in and do what he's doing and getting the guys that he did, I'll be honest with you. I think that NFL draft this year spoke volumes for him. Having the guys go in the draft the way they did on defense, it wasn't his team, but those were his guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
he worked
let's
with
be
them.
honest.
Yeah, he worked. Yeah, he worked with them. He built them up. He brought the best out in them, and yeah, it definitely would be a fair assessment to say that those were his guys. And I was telling Ben this when we made the video about this, but I'm just gonna say Brian Kelly. I know you don't like to hear it, George,
I
but
don't say his name.
I'm gonna say his name. Because like I've said before, I can't ignore the good stuff that he did do for us. But you're definitely right. He was the laziness in his recruiting was starting to show, and there was even stuff that I didn't even notice at the time when Brian Kelly was still here. But one thing I found out with Brian Kelly and his recruiting, this actually shocked me. And I could be wrong about this, but Brian Kelly wasn't really hitting the Catholic schools in his recruiting from the looks of things. At least that's what I was hearing. And it's like, if that is the case, you are the head coach of the most well-known Catholic university in all the land, and you're not hitting up the Catholic schools that is your bread and butter.
Well, you know, let's be honest. There was so much that was going on, stuff that I even questioned with former players. He went and he changed all the traditions that were around it. Fans talk about traditions, right? This guy went back and he had undone all that stuff that was typically done in the past. Former player involvement, the mass, all this other stuff, right? And in one not even a first full season, Coach Freeman has gone back and he's put all that stuff back in place. And your past is your treasure. And what do you think? What do you think recruits want to see? They want to be around the guys who are in the NFL. They want to see that. It's one thing to see it on TV, but it's one thing to be there on campus. So when they had the spring game and all those players around, those are huge impact moments.
Yeah, and that is a bunch of guys with a ton of knowledge on what these young guys can expect. They've been there, they've lived it. Why would you not want that kind of knowledge to be around your team?
Well, I never understood it. I remember interviewing Jerome Bettis back at the U.S. Senior Open when he was one of the what was his role? I can't remember what they were called, but he was one of the hosts basically, right? And I had asked him the question. I said, "So, do you guys plan? Has Coach asked you to be around the team?" And he said no, and he was disappointed.
And at this time, excuse me, he was back there getting his degree, wasn't he? He was, because he was on campus, or was this
Not,
before that?
no, this was before that. This is going back to
Okay,
2019.
2019. Okay, I
When he was
stand corrected.
involved with the U.S. Senior Open Championship.
That's right. Okay, that's right. That's right. Um,
So
I cannot believe that you wouldn't want a guy like that around your team and passing information off to them and giving them some of the best advice that they could get.
not even Tim Brown.
Well, can't you throw us a leg and give us like a Joey Getherall or something like that?
I'm telling you.
But you're right though. The vibe, just the vibe that has changed throughout this university since Marcus Freeman has been named the head coach. It's been unbelievable. We're seeing it, as we're talking about now, in the recruiting trail. We are seeing it on campus. We are seeing just the camaraderie that is forming amongst this group. And he hasn't even, I'm not going to really count the Fiesta Bowl because that was a transitional game, but he has not coached a game yet that has been with his system, with what he wants to do.
Yep.
So that's all before the season has even got here. But I think another thing too is what's really helping with things as they stand is that Marcus Freeman, he is a player's coach. And I understand there are times where you need a kind of I guess you would call it a disciplinarian type coach, really, like a drill instructor type, keep this in order, keep your bed made, keep your socks folded, that kind of thing. But this is a perfect time where we need a player's coach, somebody who can be almost like a friend to the guys, but at the same time can instill that discipline as well.
And that's really an important point, Sean. I always say a coach, has a role, and it's a double-edged sword.
Oh, and real quick, Damian Blue, don't worry, we are going to get to that, to your comment. But go ahead, George. Go ahead.
So you have to be able to separate between being we'll say it this way. You got to be a parent to these kids, right? Because there's no father figure around them when they're on campus. So you got to be that friend. You got to be the confidant. You got to be the one that they can approach. But there's also got to be that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's got to be that balance to say, okay, this is this time, but now we're talking brass tacks here, and we got to get stuff done on the field.
Yes.
And not everybody can do that. And so far, I mean, the coaching staff that he has around him, okay, those folks, everyone always asks the question, so is this guy influencing? Is that guy influencing? Or how are you influencing coach? The answer they tell you is that's just the way he is.
And the great
What
thing
you see
too
is
is,
what you get.
and the great thing too that I like is with his staff, he's expecting everybody. I mean, everybody from Tommy Reese to Chancey Stuckey to Mike Mickens to Al Golden, everybody is recruiting. Because normally you see these assistants that just sit off to the side and just focus on the position they were brought in to coach. No, everybody's on the recruiting trail
Well,
along with Coach Freeman.
but that's the weird part, okay? Being in the press conferences, okay, and sitting back and you hear the stuff, especially when you have the chance to be there for the um for the National Signing Day stuff. They always talk about it's not one guy, it's all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's different? What is different? Because we weren't getting the 5-star recruits. We weren't getting the players that we were getting, that were going to commit someplace else. And all of a sudden, it's like you remove a piece of the puzzle, right? Which you would think it may be kind of a difficult to come play for a first-time coach, okay? But it's the reverse. Everyone's in love with the guy.
No, you
And
think
that's all the way you present yourself to the student athlete and you present yourself to the parents.
what's crazy to think is Marcus Freeman. He is the same age as me. I'm 36 years old. He's 36 years old. But it's like his first offseason here. It's like he's been doing this for 20 years.
He was on he was on the university jet the day that he was out there being announced. He left the press conference, it was hitting the trail. That's what I want in a coach.
And he's getting it done. He's getting these guys. I mean, and if he hasn't exactly gotten them yet, he's on the verge of getting them from what it sounds like as far as the rumor mill goes. But it's just such a different vibe around here than what we are used to under Brian Kelly. And I'm just going to say it, Brian Kelly, very good coach. I'm not going to, like I said a million times, I'm not going to start crapping on him just because of how things went down. I can't forget everything that happened while he was here, the good that did happen.
Oh no.
But he was not a personable coach. He was not a very personable guy. You could tell that he would get irked.
He became more personable. I'll give him that. He became more personable. I saw the other side the year before I started in the press box. Okay, he went off on a reporter in the press conference. Okay, and I think we all remember that.
Was that the Georgia game?
I think so.
Where he was like, "We'll get the question out." That one.
It was something like that. Yeah,
I remember that.
And then there was the whole thing about the interaction with the guys on the field or off the field. He developed that bond after that horrible season. He really became more of that father figure, more of that, hey, maybe I need to be more personal with these guys. Because if I do all this business, I'm not getting what I need out of it. So he was coming around.
His relationship was that of a father with his kid who the two of them are trying to find something in common. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, well, it's, you know what? And I'll say this kind of going off where we're talking right now.
Yeah.
But folks, I'm talking directly to everybody right now. If you want the media outlets to stop talking about the name not to be mentioned, stop clicking on the link. Stop clicking on the stories. If you don't want to hear it, you don't want to read about it, don't click the link. Because they're making money off of you every time you hit that little like, every time you click in to read that story, and they're going to go with what's hot. If you don't want to hear about Brian Kelly anymore, don't go in and read the story. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. So with that said, George, going back to the particular players, CJ Carr and Dante Moore, but CJ Carr, in your opinion, I mean, this is probably a stupid question, but how big is that of a commitment for us? In your opinion, what was your thoughts when that happened? When you heard him pick us?
I thought it was great. Absolutely thought it was great. But I have this little thing that resides in the back of my head. This little thought is, if at some point down the road, I'm not saying he's going to, but until people put their pen to paper, it is what it is. It's a verbal commitment.
You read my mind. I was going to mention that myself because I've said it a bunch. Until that signature is on the dotted line, this is just, we got to get him to campus first. But still, we should all be excited about this.
Oh, you could be excited about it, but at the same time, you got to let the process work its way through, because God only knows what's going to come up with this NIL stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I look at me before NIL, I would probably say, there's a good chance, whatever. But nowadays, you just don't know. Now you just don't know what's going to change. I mean, you got somebody's word, and that's all you have. It's not a written commitment; it's a verbal commitment. And you're talking about 16, 17, and 18-year-olds at a point in their life that they're committing before they even graduate high school.
Yeah,
before they even get to their senior year.
Because and that's true. Let's face it, their minds aren't fully developed yet to be able to 100% comprehend all this. I mean, this is a lot for them. I mean, a big decision about their future and how it could go. But just going off with what we have, we know the future is yet to be here yet. CJ Carr is yet to be here on campus and be a part of the team yet and all that. But let's just hypothetically say that he does come to us.
Yep.
And this actually brings me into Damien's question here. I'll put it on the screen. But Damien Blue asks us, I just came in the chat. He wants us to know what with the chance of this with CJ Carr now committing to us, what are the chances that Dante Moore will choose Notre Dame as well? And this is the pickle that myself personally I ran into when Ben and I made our last video talking about these two guys. Dante Moore is a guy that Notre Dame is still high on, along with CJ Carr.
Yep.
There's a lot of things, George, that factor in with these two guys. Now Dante Moore, if he does commit to us, he would be for the class of 2023. And from what I understand, CJ Carr, yes, he's 2024, but he could also reclassify as 2023, which I told Ben I assume would be early enrollment, early graduation from high school, however it works up in Michigan. So I guess that is a really good question. I mean, because you're going to be, overloaded with quarterbacks, but in my opinion, I think that's a good problem to have. But
and it is. It's a great problem to have.
But
it's just good, and you got to remember this too. And I say this a lot, and it's my go-to line. It's good to have all those stars next to your name, but it's how it translates onto the field.
That's very true.
The high school game moves at a different speed than the high school game, right? The pro game moves faster than the college game. So this is why some guys fail when it comes to coming into college, or you got some guys that don't get the hangover, can make the change, or great in college, but then they go to the NFL and it's a bust. So it's a lot of psychological stuff for a young athlete to have to go through and work on. So I'll just go with it. It'll be great. I think it's great for the program, but you got to see how those stars translate onto the field.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on the field is where it counts, not how many stars you have next to your name on the recruiting sheets. But as far as Dante Moore choosing Notre Dame, I'm honestly not sure what to make of it. I mean, I've read articles that said, oh, his ship has sailed now that we've gotten a commitment from CJ Carr. Then of course, we have Dante Moore himself saying, oh, everything's cool with me in Notre Dame. Everything's fine. And people get the wrong idea with him taking his visits down to Texas A&M. I think I think he's going to Oregon as well. I know he just went back to Michigan for the umpteenth time, but that's a part of a kid's recruiting process. He's going to take his visits. He's going to go see all these places. But do I think it's possible that they could both sign with Notre Dame? Commit at this point in time, I should say. Yeah, I think it's possible.
And it's possible. The only thing you got to worry about is the transfer portal. That's the only other player in this, right? He comes in, doesn't get the playing time, he's gone.
Yeah. And normally in years past, you would have to sit out a year. And of course, that was a big factor in everybody's decision.
Yep.
Which I think that is the good thing about it. The one good thing about the transfer portal that I think we can all agree on is not having to sit and waste a year of eligibility. Yep. Which, well, actually, I don't think you were actually wasting a year of eligibility, but you didn't have to waste a whole year not playing. I mean, yeah, you could practice and work out and all that, but you don't have to worry about that part anymore. That part I do like.
Yep. Well, but Sharky 61 hits it on the head there, Sean.
Yep.
And this is exactly it.
If ND is your dream school, it's a no-brainer that you would commit early and be excited for the next year or two.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because you know what you're coming into. You want to play for the university, okay? But just today, there's so many other factors on the outside of, you heard about with the wide receiver from Pitt going out to USC or something and getting picked up for a boatload, literally picked up for a boatload of cash. He left his team and finished first in the ACC, by the way, and is going to play for USC because they're going to give him big money. His NIL.
Yeah, it's almost like a free agency now.
It is.
But, I mean, the thing is, regardless what any of our opinions are, whether you like it, hate it, or somewhere in between, it is legal.
It's here to stay.
It's legal. It's here to stay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and with me, I can understand it. I can understand how, these guys are bringing in money for the university. I get that. Not everyone that comes to said university is, from a well-off family that can, send them money and whatnot. So I guess that's a good part is if, you want to make some money off your name and, have some, well, I'm pretty sure you're going to be taken care of with the basics like food and stuff, but if it covers the essentials, I'm fine with that.
Well,
it's kind of a tough call, I guess.
It's a good problem to have when you got two quarterbacks sitting there back to back. It's not a bad day.
Well, and the thing is too, in our last video, Ben and I discussed all the different possible scenarios we could think about this. I mean, we could think that okay, maybe CJ doesn't reclassify, he stays in 2024. Then that the focus becomes put on and this is if Dante commits. The focus then goes to a battle between Buckner and Dante Moore, and then Dante Moore can use that year to focus, and then CJ comes in 2024. And then another thing people forget too is with redshirting now, you can play in 4 games.
50, yep, and you still get that eligibility.
Yes, so you're essentially able to play for 5 years. So the big question is if both these guys end up at Notre Dame, along with Tyler Buckner, who still has this year and then 2 more years after this.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's a sophomore.
Yep.
Then, and the thing is, you got to think about Drew Pine too. He's still there as well. So it's an overloaded quarterback room as far as the rumors and stuff go. If Dante commits,
it's not a bad problem to have, though.
No, it's not a bad problem to have. But the thing is, I understand that everybody wants to, play now, get the significant playing time right away. But it just goes back to everything, especially what Sharky said. If it's your dream school, then you come here no matter what. I think there is a way that you could make it all work.
There's always a way. There's always a way to make it work. There's always compromise.
Yeah, and JD makes a good point here. He says, I think if Dante commits, CJ doesn't reclassify. If Dante goes somewhere else, they will push for CJ to reclassify, is my belief. It's possible. It's very possible. I mean, because even if we don't get a commitment from Dante Moore and he does go elsewhere, my projection is Tyler Buckner is going to be our guy. That's what I think. What do you think, George? I better get your opinion on that too.
Drew Pine.
You think Drew Pine?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
I think there was a beef between him and the name that shall not be mentioned, and he got the back seat.
Do you think we could see another 2-quarterback system this year like they were running last year with Buckner and Pine?
If you got 2 quarterbacks, then you don't got a quarterback.
Well, it's just the thing is this. I mean, from my personal observation, you have Drew Pine, who has better accuracy. You have Tyler Buckner, who is phenomenal with his legs. I mean, a lot of his fake handoffs, they faked me out. I mean, it's ridiculous how smooth this kid is on the handoff.
Do you want to know why I feel that way?
Why?
Playing two quarterbacks in one game. What if they both go down in the same game?
Then you're putting a lot of pressure on the third guy, which I think in this case is what, Ron Paulus's kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on him. That's
think about that for a second.
Yeah, he goes from holding up the sideline what you call it, the cards, to all of a sudden he's in the game now.
Yep.
That would be pretty rough.
You got to grow up pretty quick.
And I just saw that we're at 13 viewers now. At least that's what the eyeball says. Hey, anybody, if you want to come on and chat with us for a few minutes, I'll send you the link. Don't hesitate to ask us questions, anything. We'll reply to them as best as we can. Sharky here makes another big point. Sharky, you're hitting them right on the head. I would not rush CJ. Let him grow and develop in high school. It wouldn't hurt.
It's what they do in the NHL. Is they don't bring them in right away. They let them grow and mature in college. They let them put the weight on in college, get the weight training in, and all that other stuff. Though they're drafted already, okay, they let them grow and let them grow at the level below. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's a smooth transition from one level to the next. But I'll tell you one thing. Going back to our quote unquote quarterback battle here, and I truly think that if Tyler Buckner, if he gets his passing accuracy down, he would be so deadly.
You got to hope that ankle is going to heal and it's going to hold up.
Yeah. And I don't think he was that bad off that he couldn't have played in the spring game. But of course, when you got a quarterback room that you're not entirely sure of, it's probably best not to play him.
I agree with JD, by the way.
Yeah, I saw this too.
Steve Angeli, he definitely can be number 2.
I completely forgot about him.
He can ball.
Well, I saw him in the spring game, and he and look, the spring game, as far as the stats in that game, you're playing against yourself, so you can't really base it off of that. But he did look good.
It's a glorified practice.
Yes, but he did look good with his mechanics. I'll give him that. He did finish with the best numbers out of the day, if I'm not mistaken. But
he had the game-winning touchdown.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That's right. I remember
at the buzzer.
That. Yep. At the buzzer, and then it's like, okay, NCAA regulation says you got to get the hell off the field now.
Yep. You're shut down until July.
But Steve Angeli, he could definitely be the number 2 guy this year. Myself, I know I think it'll be Buckner. George, you think it'll be Drew Pine. It'll definitely be an interesting quarterback battle, to say the least.
And the thing is, the quarterback room's got to get along. Okay, once you have one chance of folks not feeling right or frustrated, that's the worst time. That is the absolute. Look at, was it Zaire? Malik Zaire? when he went down, when Zaire got taken out and they put in
Deshaun Kaiser.
Kaiser, and when they put in what's his face? Oh God, man, this is this brain fog that I have right now.
Well, real quick, while you're thinking of that, I'll answer this comment. No, Mike, we know that. We know that Angeli's a third string quarterback right now. It's just JD was just saying he thinks Angeli could be the second string this year, depending on what happens with Pine and Buckner. I mean, the kid has potential. So what are you thinking of, George? Like,
oh man, what's this freaking Ian Book? And he put Ian Book in, right?
yeah, for well, no, I'm drawing a damn blank. Who'd he come in for?
I thought it was for Zaire.
No, Kaiser
Lucky
came
lefty.
in for Kaiser came in for Zaire, and then
Anyway, I'm sitting there at the game, and you know what? It wasn't Ian Book. It was Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire issue, and you could just see sitting on the bench, and he's not even up with the helmet on, listening to the game. He's having a pity party for himself. He can't be that way. You got to be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yes. Oh, and it was Brandon Wimbush that Ian Book came in for.
Yeah, but it was the whole Malik Zaire Deshaun Kaiser situation where he was feeling bad for himself and he was sitting on the bench sulking with his helmet on.
Yeah, and that does what good for your team? None.
Nothing.
I mean, because look, it's a team game, not an individual game, and I know it's easy for a player to get caught up in their personal future and their personal career and whatnot. But football's a team game here.
It's ego.
Yep. Oh, I've dealt with ego plenty of times in the past. But it goes back to what you were saying about that quarterback room. If you pick each other up, then the better you're all going to become.
It's all and that's the thing that separates Notre Dame from all these other schools. The guys that get it, right? And you heard that discussion with Coach O. You know, you go to battle together. It's not about an individual, it's about the team. And the guys that get it, that's what makes a program successful.
Absolutely.
And there's been some guys that come through that organization that it wasn't about them. It was about them and it wasn't about the team. Sometimes it was at the coaching level.
Yeah, we know that coaches can have just as big egos as players can. You know, because it's a lot of different things. You know, you don't want to admit when you did something wrong. You don't want to admit when you pass the buck. A lot of coaches and players have done that. So yeah,
got to own it. Just own it and you move on.
Yeah, Johnny S here says Kelly caused strife on the team. He pitted Malik against Deshaun.
Yep.
Sharky here says, I'm stoked to watch all our veterans protect our quarterbacks and see what they can do. I hope they use Mayer a lot more this year. I agree.
Sharky, they need to be able to go back to that triple threat offense. They have a triple threat offense. They need to utilize it. You have a strong backfield. You have great wide receivers. You have good tight ends. And you got quarterbacks that can be mobile. Okay? You use that and try and develop that triple threat. Not everyone can be double teamed. That's what they got to they got to work with their strengths. They got to use some of that Alabama plays that they've seen and draw some of those suckers up and execute them. And that's one thing I've always said. You know, Alabama had these plays that they use against Notre Dame. I'd be freaking taking them and I'd be freaking figuring out a way how do I run it on my team? Because they gave you a roadmap.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Not just ignoring that, George, but this is a good question. How much do you guys think Buckner's throwing game has progressed since last year? Well, I mean, it sucks because, like we just said, we weren't able to see him in the spring game. So I was interested in seeing that myself until he got hurt. I would, if I had to guess, I would like to think it's improved.
You would hope, because it's a level of maturity, it's a level of knowing the playbook, it's a year of working in the system and conditioning and strength and getting on the program. But until you can see it, you really can't answer that question. All you can do is give a hypothetical, which would be is you would expect it to greatly improve.
Yeah, and I really hope so, because I mean, even though you and I disagree on who we think will be the starting quarterback, I do think Buckner could be a very dangerous quarterback if he gets that accuracy down to a T. With
Yep.
his legs and his arm, if he's able to do that, look out. Johnny S says here, Buckner's a better thrower than they let him demonstrate last year.
You can't.
I think there's truth to that. A little truth to that.
There's truth to that, but at the same time, you can't demonstrate he's a freshman. You got to leave something for the element of surprise.
Yeah, he was raw talent last year. I mean, he made some very good throws, but he also made some very poor throws as well. He overthrew some guys. He threw some very bad. Well, any interception's bad, but ones that never should have been thrown.
Well, it goes to say what you got in your quarterback's coach, your offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees is there because of what he's been doing. Okay, they gave him the keys to the car. They let him drive, and he proved himself. Okay, you're talking about the guy who is one of the guys. He is. He's not just a coach. He's there. He's been in their shoes at the University of Notre Dame. He knows what it is to go through that battle. And what better person to have is your offensive coordinator, is someone who was in that position at that school and understands the stress. He can get you through it.
Oh yes, absolutely. Going over a couple more comments here, and there's one other topic I want to discuss. It's kind of off this, but let's answer the questions first. Notre Dame 2164. I think Buckner is a vastly underrated passer of the football. Yep, we just talked about that. I think there's definitely room to improve there, but he can definitely shine if he really works at it. Johnny says Pine is also a better passer than he showed in the blue gold game. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, that is a fact. I mean, I saw him play pretty well when he came in last year for Jack Cohn. So there's evidence of that.
Yep.
JD says the best part is Ohio State does not have UH. What? The best. Oh, I was like, I didn't know. I was okay. Here's what he said. I think that was a mistake.
It was an incomplete thought.
Okay, I thought you were making fun of me saying which I do have a tendency to do.
Yep. He's saying it was a mess up.
Yeah.
He was a mess up.
Yeah, George, what do you think of how Joe Montana was at Notre Dame? Okay, you get the point.
You're funny.
Okay. Well, look, we all have our little ticks, okay? Oh. I say all the time. I pause. I stutter and stumble my words. You got to laugh.
It's not easy running a show.
No, it's not easy being green either, like Kermit said. But anyway, okay, back to business. The good thing is Ohio State doesn't have much film on Buckner at all throwing the ball. That is true. That is very true. Okay, and then you said that was a mess up. 2164 says, I am super stoked about this running back stable this year, running behind an improved offensive line. Are you kidding me? Love it. I agree. That's the biggest problem that we had last year, at least for the first half of the season. We were shuffling guys around in that line. Now, finally, we're back to some stability there, and I love it.
We had injuries on the blind side, and that happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he still managed a good season.
And exactly. And honestly, one of the things that people complained about last season was all these close games that we had that shouldn't have been close. Well, when you don't have an offensive line that's completely put together and you're constantly shuffling them, then yeah, you're going to have. I wish we didn't be. I wish it didn't take a last-second touchdown again to beat Toledo, but unfortunately, it did. But when you're having those kind of problems, you're going to get that kind of stuff, and
stuff happens, man.
I mean, I myself personally, I ragged on Jack Cohn for a couple weeks last season, but when you actually take a time out and you see the whole picture start to unfold, it's like, okay, Sean, you have to eat your words a little bit. And I think Ben would tell you the same thing with him.
Well, I remember having a couple conversations with the two of you.
Yeah. You know darn well what we're talking about. But yes, we definitely have a very solid running back core coming back. And that's what I've noticed with us lately is not only have we been tight end you, but we're becoming running back you a little bit too. Because Kyron Williams, he came and stepped up big for us after who was it that left?
You got this, man.
I am so bad with names.
He went down to New Orleans.
Yeah, well, the devil went down to Georgia, but that doesn't help.
Let me see if I can give you a clue, if you don't mind. I'll give you some clues.
I'm going to feel so stupid when I hear this.
It's okay. Hey, man, this is
Josh Adams.
Oh, Josh Adams was a couple years before that.
Okay, well, still Josh Adams. We've had Josh Adams. We've had all these. Dexter Williams.
Dexter Williams. Yep.
Gosh, who else?
Let's see here.
But
I'll give you a hint. I'll just give it to you. Sebo Flemister.
Well, and he's gone. He's gone to Pitt now.
Jafar Armstrong.
Yes, Jafar Armstrong.
Well, we didn't lose him to the draft.
Nope.
So that was that season. But if you're talking before that, wow, it's been that long.
Well, of course, there was CJ Procise. He was there. Yep, Tony Jones.
Tony Jones Jr. Yep.
So the point that I'm getting at is we have had a great repetition lately of having no problem replacing running backs, and now this year you have Chris Tyree in there along with Audric Estime as who pointed that out here. Sharky. Oh no, it was Johnny. Johnny pointed out Estime. Yeah, Audric Estime, Chris Tyree, Logan.
They got a very good backfield.
Yeah, I think Logan Diggs and Audric Estime are going to be the two to look out for because we know what Tyree can do with his speed. But yeah, no,
But the part you got to worry about is when you have that many good guys, is when the NFL comes calling, and it's like this year with Mayer. I hate to say it, but I think this could be his last season with Notre Dame.
I said that. I said that a long time ago.
Discussions you hear, from the guys that were in the draft, and how everyone's talking about Michael Mayer and showing the love for him. He's done. He's going to be able to pick his team.
Yeah, he's going pro after this year, pending a major setback. But yeah, I agree, Sharky. Diggs is he's definitely going to be a stud. 2164 again with some really good questions. What do you guys think about Ronan Hannafin? I know he is a 3-star, but his offer list is elite. He is the real deal on film. 2023 recruit athlete. Myself personally, I have not seen much of him, so I'm going to really have to get back to my research and looking into these guys a lot more than what I have. Just hate to say it, just aren't enough hours in the day for me.
I love that. I love the off the cuff questions.
Yes, great questions. I love it. Just too bad nobody wants to come in here and talk with us.
He's 6'3", 210.
Wow. I will say this about the 3-star part, though. Don't read too much into that, people. Because here's the thing. The only difference between a 5-star and a 3-star is a 5-star you could probably get out on the field a little sooner. The 5-star is probably a little bit more ready. But the 3-star, he can become a 5-star.
24/7 Sports has him as a 4-star.
Oh, okay. Even better.
So his college list: Alabama, Boston College, Clemson, Notre Dame, Connecticut. Well, he says he's cool about Connecticut in the fact that he's probably not seriously considering. But Alabama, Boston College, Clemson, Notre Dame, that's good company.
Very much so. There. Let's see. Still trying to think of our running back core. Jaden Thomas, the incoming freshman who enrolled early, is he a running back or is he the receiver?
Give me 1 second.
Because I know there was one video that Ben and I did where we had the positions right, but we mixed up the names.
He's a wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Okay, that's right. Then I stand corrected. But yep. I was thinking we had another incoming freshman running back that was in the mix too to see some playing time.
Let's see. I do my research really quick here at the sports office.
And meanwhile, to all of you guys who are new on here, not trying to sound cocky or arrogant, but Ben and I, these last few days, we picked up quite a number of subscribers. And if any of you guys are one of those new subscribers, we would just like to say thank you for subscribing to the channel and giving us some love. It's always appreciated.
You got Jadarian Price.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yep.
That's who I was thinking
Jadarian
of.
Price. He had a good blue and gold game.
Yeah, I forget the numbers, but
Coach was very happy for him. So
I remember seeing him in the highlights. I just forget his numbers, but no, I was impressed with seeing how quick he was and how he could move. And but yeah, again, it's just you're playing yourself. So, but when you see guys move like that, you got to take notice of it, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, you know what? This team, even if they don't make it to a New Year's, if they don't make it to the CFP this year, they're going to be playing New Year's Day. There's just a lot of stress. There's a lot of stuff to go on with a new program. New coach, new way to play. But the players, the difference is everyone's bought in. You've had Coach O come in and give you a talk. What's better than that? Now that would be great to see Coach O come into the Notre Dame program. That'd be a phenomenal thing.
Well, wasn't he close to coming in some capacity at one point? I was thinking he was.
I don't remember, but Coach O, I just love the way he talks.
Yeah, kind of like a voice like this.
That was pretty good.
It's not hard. Well, you just get the deep voice and got him like a southern mixture, and
That make me laugh.
I don't think he actually does, but you kind of got to sound like you're smoking, like you're a smoker.
No, but I think it's all about putting good people around these kids, and right now I think there's a bunch of great people around these kids.
Well, and let's not forget too. You talk about certain people around these kids. The Mannings, they were just there at South Bend.
They weren't there in the capacity that you think they were. They were there shooting a show.
Yes.
And the guys were not on campus.
Oh, I thought they were. I thought they did talk to the team.
Wait, you're right. They did. Yes, they did. Yep, I remember the video now. I had to go back through the fog.
But you are right though. They were there to shoot an episode of, I think it's called Manning's Place, what they do on ESPN.
Yeah.
But you're right. But I was pretty sure that they did talk to the team too while they were there. So who else better to take advice from?
It's not the person in charge is not the guy for the name we're not going to mention. Okay,
Yes.
it's not about Freeman. It's about the team, and he gets it. End of discussion.
Yes. And so George, one thing I wanted to make sure to talk about, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, and Ben and I have made a video talking about this recently as well. But there's apparently a lot of talk, and people, and for the record, people can talk all day. You can talk all day. Business never stops for schools and conferences. But what do you think about the idea of Notre Dame going to the ACC full time, if that were to happen, based
Not
on
happening.
the strong talks that I'm hearing?
No,
You think they will? You think they will stay independent, no matter
I
how
think
good
they
the
will
offer
stay
is?
independent. I think they will, unless their hand is forced. There's. I think as long as the dome is still gold, I think that Notre Dame stays independent. It would
Well,
have
see,
it would have to be one. And as I've said to you before, Sean, Notre Dame is not going to do something that's bad for Notre Dame.
right?
Okay, everything is calculated. Everything has a reason. Okay, if they go and they give up that independence, it's going to be for a damn good reason.
Yeah. Oh, of course. That's not. I mean, that's not something you just say here you go. We're leaving this and going to a conference.
But
Um,
the ACC, I mean, they would love to have Notre Dame come in because they made more money from the COVID season and TV revenue because of Notre Dame.
yeah, exactly. And but also the funny thing too is people, and we've said this a million times too since the 2020 season. But people and haters are going to hate. We all know that. But we've heard it for years. Oh, Notre Dame would never make it in a conference. They just get slaughtered. I asked Ben the same question, George. Refresh me. How did we do?
Um,
We just
yeah,
did okay, right?
you did okay. I mean, you went to the ACC championship game, but you know what I said about that whole thing was that year made the whole ACC better.
It was fun, and
It
I'll
made the ACC better. I'm not sure if it helped Clemson, you know, the year afterwards, but I think it made the ACC better because they had to play an opponent with it was an opponent it was a conference schedule.
yeah,
Not that Notre Dame's not a conference schedule, but they were physically in the conference.
yes,
So
and I guess one thing when you talked about the situation, if it was is if it was an adapt or die thing, and Ben used the same term, but one of the big things that I'm sure you've seen in the news is the NCAA has now said that all the conferences, they can run them however they want now. They don't have to have two divisions. So there's a possibility of you could have some conferences that go to pods. You could have what the ACC, I don't know if it's going to start this year, but they're going to be doing what's basically a pod system. It's what's called a 3-5-5 system. And what that means is there's three teams that you're going to play every year, no matter what. And then you play five of the remaining teams one year to go along with the three, and then the other five the following year, and you do that on a rotating basis. So it makes me wonder, like I know one of the big things that the ACC wants is they want West Virginia to join, and the rumors I've heard from other colleagues of me and Ben's on here is the ACC is looking at West Virginia and Notre Dame as a package deal. That's been talked about forever now, for like the last year or two.
yeah.
And so it makes you wonder, George, do you think something like that, like just how conferences can now run it how they want, and now in this case, the ACC wouldn't necessarily need Notre Dame if they wanted to bring in, say, a West Virginia or whoever. Could you see that as like a big playing factor of that could leave us out in the rain if we're not careful?
Well, it's the same discussion every year because Notre Dame is not in a conference. You really have to go out and win every single game. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the That's their situation. So when you think about it in general, they're already there. So I don't know what the difference would be from what that would do versus what's going on now. I Notre Dame's got to go win every game. The only way that they're going to do it is prove themselves and win. And you have one loss, you have no losses. You have no choice but put a team like Notre Dame in there and into the playoff.
Well, and one thing I told Ben too, and that's another thing you mentioned playoffs. There's a couple things I want to address here. See, it's like a pattern. I say I want to talk about one thing, but then there's one thing that follows immediately after that. I told Ben this in the video that we did talking about us potentially to the ACC if that ever were to happen. At the end of the day, and you just pretty much said it yourself, I don't care if it's conference or independent. You have to win on the field. And that, at the end of the day, that's all that I care about as a fan. Whoever we play, go out and beat them.
But you got to play a good schedule.
Yes.
You got to play a good schedule. You can't help but think about who we always play in the rival games and stuff like that. You can't pick their records. All you can go and say is historically these are good programs.
Yeah. We could go off with 100 different scenarios. Like we could say that, Notre Dame could keep if they join the ACC, they could keep Navy and USC. You don't know for sure what's going to happen with that. I mean, I'd like to think that would be the case, but here's another thing too. And this is nothing against the team that we're playing, but I know as you do, George, we're playing Tennessee State next year. We scheduled our first FCS opponent. And it's nothing against Tennessee State, but I do not like that move. That's just my opinion. I think it's only because we get enough crap about our schedule already as an independent. Why, as an independent, are you scheduling these teams that aren't going to help your schedule?
Well, it's a weird scenario, and I know JD was talking about getting a new athletic director.
Yeah, I was going to bring up all these comments, but if you want me to bring up one now, I will.
But it plays into it, right? It's about opportunity, and that's the one thing that Notre Dame has always done. It's about, once again, they're not going to do something that's going to hurt them. Okay, you're playing against an opponent it's Eddie George, right? The coach.
Does he coach at Tennessee State? Because I knew it was Todd Light who went to coach at Charleston Southern. I'm pretty sure it was Todd Light.
I thought it was Eddie George who's the new head coach.
You're right. I think it is Eddie George. I think it is Eddie George.
Because that was the whole talk about the whole football thing, that he's getting an opportunity to coach at Notre Dame. And, and then the talk about them going down there. So, first of all, it's a coach in Eddie George. I mean, great NFL player.
Yes.
Okay, it's about opportunity. I mean, we all understand the university stance, and I believe they're an
HBCU.
HBCU, yep. And it's about opportunity. And that was the direction they decided to go.
And like I said, it is nothing against these FCS schools. Nothing against them. I said in the video about this. There's good football at the FCS level.
Yep.
There's a lot of good talent that comes out of the FCS level. I mean, Walter Payton.
Appalachian State beat Michigan, okay?
Yeah.
When they were in the FCS.
But the thing is, you cannot expect those kind of upsets to happen all the time, because they don't. I mean, despite what you see on YouTube videos, they're actually pretty rare.
Yep.
But let's see, where was it that Walter Payton? I think he went to some Arkansas. I think Arkansas something. Let's see.
And it was Eddie George, by the way.
Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Jackson State. Jackson State is where Walter Payton came from. So, yeah, the bottom line is you have a lot of these big-name Hall of Famers who have come from these small schools, and I've never denied that.
No.
But it's just, you know, I don't know.
It's a level.
How do I say this without being a jerk? I mean,
you don't want to be the Alabama. You don't want someone to say it's a cupcake on your schedule.
exactly. That you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, now of course I know there's some up and coming schools that probably will be FBS in the near future, like for example, say a North Dakota State, maybe an Illinois State, who have had a lot of success at the FCS level, winning championships left and right. But
James Madison just came out.
Yeah. Yep. James Madison, they became an FBS opponent. Liberty not too long after them. Or actually, Liberty was before them.
Liberty was before them.
Yeah, never mind. But still, pretty recent. But it's like, anyway, I kind of digress there for a second, but it's like, you know, a lot of conferences, they do schedule these FCS opponents, and I get that the FCS teams, the schools, they make a crap load of money off of these games where they go and get whipped like 50 or 60 to 3 or whatever.
Yep. But then the flip side is when you do the home and home, you make a heck of a lot of money on their gate.
I've never really seen big time programs go to the FCS opponent and play at their stadium.
Well, they talked about it. So, matter of fact, the other show that I'm on, the guy asked that question.
But of course, but the thing is, these are pretty small stadiums though at that level.
I thought they said they would play at Titan Stadium.
Oh, a neutral site.
Neutral site. Yep.
Okay. All right. That I can see.
Yep.
That I can see, but not the actual team stadium itself.
No. It's like Notre Dame and Navy. They're not playing in Annapolis. They're going to play at an NFL arena.
Well, and I think you said it yourself. If Notre Dame and Navy played in Annapolis, that town would get clogged up.
Oh, it'd be like a clogged artery.
Exactly.
There's no getting out.
Well, and anyway, I really got off topic with that, but yeah, I'll bring up a couple of these comments to help get us back on topic. Yeah, JD said, I think we go ACC when we get a new athletic director. It's way more money for us, and we know everything is about the money. Each ACC team made $36 million last year. That's more than our NBC deal. And he's right. He's absolutely right.
One team versus 12.
Well, and here's the thing, too. If I read this correctly, the University of Notre Dame by itself, without the TV contract, they make like well over $100 million a year. And I think of that, I think 80 to 85 million is profit. And then you add on the 15 million in addition to that.
Yep.
So it's not like I mean, all those teams making 36 million bucks a piece. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's definitely better than the NBC deal, but the point is, it's not like Notre Dame is hurting for money where they need to join the ACC to pick themselves up.
Yeah. It's all about the Benjamins. In the end, it's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah, I mean, I think no school joins another conference because it's a good move academically or anything like that. It's all for money. Absolutely. Yep. Johnny said, I saw that conferences are paying between $50 to $100 million per team yearly. I don't know if it's $100 million per team. I think that number's pushing it. I think on average it's what JD said, about 36 or so. Notre Dame gets 15. We know that already, for 15 million from the NBC deal. From other videos that I've watched from other guys, it sounds like the Big 12 has the worst TV deal of the bunch of all the Power 5 conferences. Notre Dame 2164 says, yeah, the NBC deal doesn't compare to the conference money. I think eventually it will make too much financial sense to not be in a conference. And plus, he also said before, I think eventually Notre Dame's financial hand will be forced. Well, and like I said, I mean, we're just talking TV contracts here. We're not talking what the university itself does per year. I mean, we all know Notre Dame is a pretty rich university.
Yep.
And they're not going to struggle for money anytime soon.
I was just trying to look up their deal. Because that kind of seemed like a low number.
Johnny said, and this is in addition to his last comment, he says this is for upcoming contracts.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he said between $50 to $100 million per team yearly. And then he pointed out the NBC contract.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. I personally don't see Notre Dame going into a conference unless they're forced to. It's going to be one of those things. If like they were talking a couple of years ago, the scenario. It's going to come a point where they're going to say, you're not going to get into the college football playoff.
Well, and I don't think they were even saying that. What I know, and I don't know if this is still the format they have in mind. I think they've kind of changed this a little bit, but at one point they were talking about expanding the playoffs to 12, and the top 4 conference champions, or the top 4 ranked conference champions, would get a bye. So that means Notre Dame could finish number 1 in the country, but the best seed they could get would be a 5 seed because they're not in the conference. Now, yeah, that would suck.
Well,
and it sounds like they're changing that now. They're looking to change that format if playoff expansion does happen.
4 teams. 4 teams is the magic number. I don't think you can go more than that.
I mean, I'd like to find out. I'd like to see how that would work, and I'd like to see at the very least 6.
Yeah, but 6 leads to 8. 8 leads to 16.
Well, we all know 12 is going to be the max.
Yeah, but now you're talking about playing football. You're talking about the bowl games already don't have any real credit to them because there's so many bowl games.
Well,
what are you going to do?
If people would, if the bowl sponsors, if the bowl committee would take my advice and actually treat these smaller bowl games with a little dignity and pride, then maybe people wouldn't call them the toilet bowl. Like if it wasn't just the sponsor in the bowl game, if they actually used the name Pineapple Bowl. Here I go, George. Here I go. You know what's coming.
I baited the hook.
But it's true. It's true. If they would actually bring some tradition back to these smaller games, then people wouldn't be like, oh, it's another sponsored bowl game, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Because that's what it is. It's the corporate aspect of it that turns people off. So I'm saying you got these bowl games have to have their own names. The corporate sponsor being the title, absolutely. But it's got to have its own name. But I'm not going to get on a rant with that.
Thought I could help.
I'm sorry. That's become the 2 years that Ben and I have been doing the show. That's been my shtick, and it's one that I love. But
it's all good.
I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I think I can make some pretty darn good bowl posters with my ideas. But yeah, no, we obviously won't know until it becomes a reality and we actually see the format in place. But I would like to think that you could make it work.
Yep. It'll be interesting.
So yeah, I don't know what else more to say on that topic, but first off, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the end of the show, but everybody who showed up, I want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is probably the most people we've had show up to a live stream, and to anyone who's new here who just recently subbed, thank you. Can't say it enough, because Ben and I have been really trying to grow this channel and make it into something, and we've had a little explosion the past few days, and I think we picked up like 20 new subscribers, and we're on the verge of 400 right now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for us it is. So we can't thank you guys enough for giving the support to this channel. And speaking of Ben, George, we're a little something. Well, this all has been fun, but something really fun and maybe not as serious.
I'm not getting my chest waxed. Sorry, not
No. You don't have to. You never made a bet, but obviously, Ben and I have been we've been covering the USFL on here.
Yep.
Sadly, and I tell the truth, it hasn't exactly sold with a lot of the viewers on here. I think I think the highest USFL video we had barely broke 100, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back and look at that, but it really overall is not sold. But the thing is, Ben and I have had a lot of fun talking about the USFL, covering it, and that league has actually been a lot of fun to watch. But I'm not talking about the league. What I want to talk about is the fact that Ben and I started doing bets for those games. You've seen the videos, haven't you?
Yep.
So, yeah, Ben has lost every single time. And for those of you who don't know, Ben and I, we've made bets on these games, but the loser does not pay the winner money. The loser has to get punished, kind of like the TV show Impractical Jokers.
Well, now, kind of like they did on Mike and Mike.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
So what I love is knowing the fact that we've done 4 bets. I don't know if we're going to do any for the playoffs, but Ben lost all 4 times. That and the thing is, I picked the Houston Gamblers for my team. Ben picked the Birmingham Stallions.
Yep.
And so 4 lost bets for Ben. And so far he's paid up on 1. And that was he had to call some random person and ask them to marry him. Which is it was funny as hell. There's still 2 more bets that he owes me. One, he has to do 1 show dressed like Papa Smurf. Then the main one was for when the Stallions and the Gamblers had their rematch which the Gamblers won. That's where he has to get his chest and his stomach waxed.
Yeah.
And he had the choice either at a salon that does it or me using duct tape. Now John over at the Always Irish show, he strongly is for me using duct tape.
No, that's brutal. That's beyond punishment.
Well, did you vote in the poll that we did, George, on Twitter?
I would have gone with the salon waxing.
Okay, well, it's Ben's choice. I just want to see what the fans would say, and believe it or not, that poll was 50-50 on salon and me using duct tape. And the funny thing is, on a side note, he's actually considering me using duct tape. Oh my God. I know, that's what I said. So here's overall, since I finally got that out of the way to explain to everybody what's going on with that, there's the 4th punishment that he owes me that I'm still not sure on. I haven't thought of anything yet. And I had a couple of ideas, but George, what's one that you think I should do for a punishment?
For Ben?
Yeah, what's an idea that you might have? And anybody in the comment section, let's hear some ideas for punishments.
I think he's got to do a show with a baby hat on and drinking out of a baby bottle.
Oh, God, my God.
How's that?
Ooh. Well, I'm going to consider that now. But here's the 2 punishments.
And he's got to drink it during the show. So he's got to drink from the baby bottle during the show.
Well, they do have a baby girl, so getting a bottle would be no problem. Of course, he could rig something up as a baby hat, but does he have to have his shirt off and whatnot?
No, please, no. You don't want to lose viewers.
Well, if he gets his chest and stomach waxed,
he should have to get a shirt that says Sean's the man.
I like that. That's a good idea.
T-shirt says Sean's the man, and has to drink. And this 1 show is the T-shirt And if he can't do the hat, then you just have him where Sean's the man and has a drink out of a baby bottle.
That's a good one to consider. And again, anybody in the comments, feel free to chime in. But here's the thing, George. If with him having a shirt off, he's going to have his shirt off when he gets waxed. Of course, we're going to film that.
Of course. But you don't want to have double exposure.
No. Someone, I was telling my dad and my brothers about this, about the bets and all that for our show, and my younger brother suggested that I have him do a Brazilian wax. Like, no. Look, I can be an ass sometimes, but I'm not that big of an ass.
No, sorry.
But here are the two ideas that I had. Okay, let's see, JD. Let me read JD's comment first. Whatever his most hated team is, he has to wear that team shirt during an episode and around town. That's no fun. It's good, but that's no fun. It's got to be something humiliating. And he would not be humiliated by that. So
this will not involve tattoos.
No tattoos. We're not doing. Here's the thing. When we agreed to do this for the USFL and make bets and do punishments, we agreed on two things. We're not eating or drinking anything disgusting, and we're not going to do anything that'll get us arrested. Yep. But here are the two things that I had in mind. Now this this first one is kind of it's a rip off from Impractical Jokers, but I think it would be funny just to see Ben do it. The first one that I had in mind was he has to go into a store. It could be Walmart, Lowe's, a furniture store, whatever. He has to go in there, walk around barefoot, and ask other shoppers if he can stay at their place.
Also, he won't even get in the door. He'll get arrested for not having shoes on.
Well, they're not going to arrest him. They're going to just throw him out.
True.
They'll just throw him out. But yeah, walk around barefoot and ask other shoppers if he can stay at their place. And then the other one that I had in mind was he has to ask a senior citizen lady out on a date.
Nah.
I
think what he's got to do is you got to get someone to tape it, of course.
Well, I would do it.
You got to get him to walk around a Walmart with a piece of toilet paper hanging out the back of his shorts.
That's good, but I don't think it's humiliating. It's not humiliating enough.
It's Walmart.
Well, that's the thing. He'd blend right in. That's the point. He'd blend right in. And also, have you ever gone shopping at Walmart after midnight?
No, I try to stay away from Walmart after midnight.
Well, I'm ripping off a joke here, but Walmart after midnight, they might as well have a sign that says self-esteem half off. I mean, it's like they should really they need to charge admission.
Buy tickets at the door, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's like you get a show in there. You don't know who you're going to see in there.
Nice.
But when people would ask, well, Sean, why are you in there after midnight? Why have you, Sean, you're saying this about Walmart after midnight. Why have you been in there after midnight?
Because Sean needs entertainment.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, no, I like that idea with the baby hat. But the thing is, yes, but to answer your question, with the going in a store barefoot thing, that would happen the next time I was visiting him, and I would be the one filming it.
There you go.
But the wax job, his wife said she would film that.
Nice.
And
oh yeah, she'd be there laughing and loving it.
Oh, she loved it when I told him that he had to call some random person to marry him. And I don't know if you saw that, George, but the best part was it was a guy.
That's awesome.
I originally wanted him to try to call a motorcycle shop, but they were closed on Sundays, so he had to call some pizza place. I'm like, all right, that works.
Nice.
So yeah, people, even though the USFL videos haven't exactly been selling, our comedy has.
Hey, You fill in a gap in time.
Well, at least we try to anyway.
Yep.
So, all I know is, George, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to add?
Let me see. You got all my hot button stuff. Um,
I mean, I could talk about punishing Ben all day.
we both could. Um, no, I think we're there, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I forgot about this. Notre Dame 2164 had this other comment that I missed, but a little off topic. But I hope Jadarian Price gets at least a couple of touches a game this year. That'd be nice. The more experience you can get your young guys, the better. I agree with that.
Oh, I do have something.
Shoot.
This goes back to kind of the other stuff. And I kind of fell into it. The whole thing about coach and talking about Ohio State academics.
How could we forget about that? Oh Lord.
Okay. Hot mess. Okay. The way it comes out and gets reported. I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's off. That's off for coach. To me, that's a huge detriment, and he understands that stuff. And then you find out afterwards that somebody misquoted him.
Right.
You got to get your facts straight. This is where when you start dealing with coaches and you start dealing with programs, first of all, that's locker room fodder. You don't need to charge up Ohio State more than there are going to be already for that first game of the season. Okay,
Right.
but this is where even in sports reporting, you got to report the facts. You can't misquote somebody. People always got on me about, me being anal about getting coaches' quotes correct and stuff. No, that's that's where you're building your reputation on.
Yeah. Man, George, I've been doing YouTube since 2009. I've been doing the show with Ben since January of 2020. Do you know how many times I've ran into those same kind of issues? Too many to count.
Yep.
Too many to count. You have to explain the same things to people 40 or 50 times. It's like, well, I mean, and this is just common sense with the media. Any little thing, they're going to take it and run with it and blow it up into something that it's not.
Because social
And
media that's what social media is.
yeah, it's like they don't care if they misquote people. They just want the story. And you know what they're trying to do. Ohio State being the first game of the year, they're trying to build that fire. And sure enough, look what followed. You
Yep.
have I think the most well-known Ohio State website is one called 11 Warriors, I think, or at least that's one of the top ones. 11 Warriors has started talking crap towards Freeman. Like you said, all over social media, it's comment galore. And I'm just thinking, like, first off, you people are making a big deal out of nothing. That's not what he said.
Yep.
He never said that the Ohio State players don't go to class. He just said they take them online. So what?
Yep.
So what if online classes is going to class? So I don't know. I don't know if he was saying that they never go to an actual lecture hall and sit down in a chair and actually take notes. But the whole thing's ridiculous. That's all I can say.
It's just noise. It goes back to the fodder we talked about earlier. There's no need for it.
Oh, and I guarantee come game day in Columbus, I'm pretty sure they're having it in Columbus, aren't they?
Yes.
For that first game.
Yep.
We'll probably see a bunch of signs. We'll probably hear a bunch of crazy chants.
Yep.
And it's like, oh. I mean, look, I love the college football atmosphere. I love the rivalry aspect. I love the for lack of a better term, the confrontation and all that. Like, our team's going to beat your team and all that stuff.
Yep.
But all this unnecessary BS that none of us need. Ugh. If you're that desperate to make a story, then you're not a journalist.
That's why I said what we said at the top of the show, Sean.
Yep.
If you don't want to see the that guy's stories about him anymore, don't click the links. All you're doing is feeding into the beast.
You're keeping him in business.
Move on. Move on past it. He left the program. There's no need to give the guy the more attention than he needs. He's getting plenty of attention on his own. So
Exactly.
you
I
can
mean,
you can help the cause.
well, I've said this a bunch of times, but when you're gonna use a fake accent and completely change who you are and not be yourself, then yeah, you're gonna make a spectacle of yourself on your own.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, with that said, George, I don't know what else to talk about. I'm all out of topics. I mean, I think we've answered everybody's questions that chimed in with a comment.
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good stuff
Yeah,
from everybody else too.
yeah. This was a great live stream, and the only thing that sucked is Ben couldn't be here for it. I would have loved to have made fun of his punishments in person with him here, not behind his back, quote unquote. No, this was a lot of fun, and
Always is.
hopefully with in particular with the two of us, since we made the video about it with the athletes and the players, hopefully we can get that we can get our friend Patrick on to discuss all this and see and find out what we said that was so wrong.
I need a counter to my point. I need a counter that says that I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know.
And everyone's allowed their opinion, man.
Yeah,
I'm all for your opinion, but it's not an opinion when you take it out on student athletes.
yeah, and it's not just the video that we made from when we were talking about that. I mean, this guy disagrees with what we said about Dante Moore and CJ Carr in Ben and I's last video, and I don't know what there was to argue. All we did was we talked about different scenarios of what we could happen or what could happen with that. We don't know what's going to happen. We never said anything was fact.
Yep.
But I'm not saying this guy's.
It's all conjecture. It's all conjecture till it happens.
I'm not saying that this. I mean, I know a lot of you guys in the comments don't know who we're talking about, but it's kind of a behind the scenes kind of deal. But I'm not saying this guy's a bad guy. I just think he's greatly misunderstood. So, because
you got to be able to come on the show and you voice your opinion versus talking from behind the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that said, we're pretty much milked to the bone here on topics. But George, thank you so much for sitting in for Ben and being that guy that comes out of the bullpen.
Nope, not a worry, and I'll be back next week. Correct?
Yes, yep. We just got to set up a time. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe none of this is official, people, but maybe Sunday afternoon. I was gonna say Saturday evening, but
probably Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
Got Billy Joel on Saturday at the stadium.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
And of course you're bringing your Uptown girl with you, right?
Yes.
I'm talking about your missus.
Yep.
Even though I can't afford to buy her pearls. I love that's a great song. Great song. Yeah, so we'll work something out. I have some stuff going on Saturday and a couple things Sunday myself, so we'll have to really
we'll put it together.
Yeah, we'll think of something. So you got all you guys who are watching, thank you so much. Just again, if you haven't done it, hit that subscribe tab. You'll get a notification when we're on. How about that?
There you go.
So with that said, everyone, I am ND Sean 45.
I'm George Bashura.
And as we always say, God bless. Good night.
Go Irish.